if we have anybody come in late, we'll just let them join in.
Okay. I'm getting into the chat box questions. I'm talking about rocks. So I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to welcome you all to our webinar today. And we're so happy you decided to join us. And I'm your host today, Dana Bryant, and we have Christina Cochran joining us today too. And we have Holly and Hannah are on the line too from Volunteer West Virginia. But to introduce Christina and I, we both started our careers in AmeriCorps. Christina moved to the state to be a VISTA and help with flood recovery in 2016, and she's been here ever since. And I moved back to West Virginia to be an AmeriCorps VISTA too. So AmeriCorps has played a really big role in our careers, and we're going to meet some of the state's AmeriCorps members today and hear how their AmeriCorps experience has been so far. So we're winding up AmeriCorps Week this week. So we want to thank all the AmeriCorps members that are here for your service. So if you're an AmeriCorps member, you can put that in the chat box. Or if you're an AmeriCorps alum, we would love to hear about where you served and what you did. And thank you again for your service. And then here's another really great picture from the AmeriCorps members this year. They've been working so hard and have continued to serve during COVID-19. So we see lots of the ways that AmeriCorps members have been helping the state, preparing meals. Down in the corner, we have Brian from Wheeling serving Thanksgiving dinner and then making masks and helping with COVID testing. So if you're an AmeriCorps member and you have helped with the COVID recovery, we are super grateful and thankful that you've continued to serve even in this challenging time that we're in. So just to explain a little bit about what we're doing today, we have launched a webinar series for 2021, and it's our Volunteer West Virginia Wednesday series. And each month we offer free trainings and explain our programs. And then we also offer networking opportunities for us to get together throughout the year. And then today's webinar is a special bonus. So sometimes we do a Friday webinar too. So that's why you're seeing us here today. And if you're interested in our upcoming webinar topics, April is National Volunteer Month. So we're going to be talking all about volunteering. So that's going to be a really great webinar. And then in May is our grant writing training. We're doing a smaller condensed version of our grant writing training. And this is one of our most popular trainings that we do at Volunteer West Virginia. It usually sells out. So this is going to be an opportunity to get a free sneak peek of our grant writing training. So if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend signing up for it. We're going to cap that at 100 participants. So if you're interested, be sure to sign up for those webinars. And then Christina just pasted the link in the chat box. So you can do that now if one of those has caught your ear. So today's topic is Fun Friday. We're going to be meeting 4 AmeriCorps members that are serving, and it's going to be just a fun, informal webinar. We're going to be giving away some prizes for AmeriCorps Week during this webinar. We're going to do a brief introduction to AmeriCorps. So if you're interested in joining the program, we're going to explain the benefits, and this is going to be a great opportunity for you all to learn a little bit more about AmeriCorps. And then after that, we're going to do our panel, and we're going to speak to 2 members serving in the state. And for our spring focus, we're going to be meeting members who serve in environmental and health programs. So that's going to be our focus for today. And now we're going to do an AmeriCorps prize giveaway, and I'm going to introduce Christina to help us with that.
Thanks, Dana. As Dana mentioned, we are all about Fun Fridays, and we are excited to celebrate AmeriCorps Week. You may have noticed that AmeriCorps has a new look. My virtual background is a little bit outdated, but AmeriCorps has a new logo, and we want to get it out there to our AmeriCorps members and our supporters. So we have chosen our first 5 giveaway winners. These winners were chosen at random based on our registrants for today's webinar. So congratulations to Heather, Abigail, Olivia, Rebecca, and Olivia. If you're here, sound off in the chat box. Congratulations, you have won. So we're going to be mailing you one of these awesome new AmeriCorps West Virginia backpacks filled with some cool little swag. So be on the lookout for that. I also wanted to do a little bit of a background on AmeriCorps in West Virginia. For those of you that were with us on Wednesday, this might be a little bit of a review, but every time that you can hear about AmeriCorps, it's going to sink in a little more, and then you can spread the word to everyone else. AmeriCorps members do all types of wonderful things across our state. Here we have a photo of some AmeriCorps members in 2014 participating in a cleanup as part of their service project. Just a snapshot of AmeriCorps in 2021. We have about 900 members serving in West Virginia right now, which is pretty crazy considering that 25 years ago, our first class of AmeriCorps members was only about 25 or 30 people. So our programs have grown a lot, and our network of members and alumni has grown a lot as well. Last year, AmeriCorps members in West Virginia received a collective $1.8 million in education awards, which is also a wonderful statistic because that money is not only helping AmeriCorps alumni to further their education, whether that's a trade skill or a postgraduate degree, but it's also putting money into our economy. Last but not least, West Virginia is number 3 in the nation for producing AmeriCorps members, which really speaks to our state's priority of service. And we're really, really proud of that. AmeriCorps members, while actively serving, receive a monthly living allowance, and they also receive an education award for completing their service as a little bonus. For a full-time AmeriCorps member, that comes out to be about $6,345. It's usually equivalent to the federal Pell Grant, so it's a really wonderful added bonus for serving. Full-time members also receive health coverage if they don't already have health insurance, and of course, career development, access to networking opportunities, and building their resume. This is an example of the 10 AmeriCorps state programs that we have currently in West Virginia. They're all over the state, in the South, in the North, in the Panhandles, in Central West Virginia. We have AmeriCorps members all over. And we also have AmeriCorps VISTA members serving. And it's already time for our second giveaway. So we really just wanted to say thank you to those of you guys who carved out some time in your Friday to be here with us and hear from our AmeriCorps members celebrating AmeriCorps Week. So our last winners of our prize giveaway during AmeriCorps Week are Lance, Linda, Amy, Tammy, and Visaka. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name, but congratulations to y'all for winning. Be on the lookout for a package from us. And if you have won a prize, some of you guys did not put your mailing address in your registration. So also be on the lookout for an email from me so I can get your correct mailing address. I'll pass it back to you, Dana.
Thanks, Christina, and congratulations to all our winners. AmeriCorps got a new logo this year, so if you're an alumni, you probably recognize that. So we're excited to get some new AmeriCorps swag out in the community. And now we're going to get into our panel, and today it's going to be my AmeriCorps Experience. We have 4 wonderful panelists with us today that are going to be talking about their service. Their service is focused on environmental stewardship and health, but our AmeriCorps members do so much more. This is our spring focus. So I'm really happy to introduce our first panelist, Kalee Paxton. Kalee moved to West Virginia to be an AmeriCorps member, and she serves at the Marlington Watershed with the Monongalia National Service. And Kalee's going to be telling us a little bit about her service today and how she moved to West Virginia to begin with. So Kalee, are you there? I see you. Welcome.
Sorry. Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Kalee. It's so good to see you. And my first question that I have for you, at one point you never dreamed of leaving your home state of Oregon. However, AmeriCorps brought you to West Virginia. Can you share a little bit about this experience and how it has changed you as a person?
Yeah, I originally served as an AmeriCorps back in Oregon, and I had so many, or other people in the program had moved so far away. I was like, wow, this is like, I can go other places. You know, I don't have to stay in Oregon, and seeing all these other young people who were brave enough like one of my roommates, he moved all the way to Maryland from Oregon. And I was like, he can do it, why can't I do that? So that encouraged me to start looking for other positions. And I saw West Virginia and I was like, I've never been to the eastern side of the United States. I've heard West Virginia is very chill compared to the other eastern states. They're not as populated. I don't like big cities. So it's like, okay, I think I can do this. And it was rough when I first moved here because I have no social network period out on the East Coast. So, or the Eastern United States. But as I longer I was here, the more connections I made, the more friends I've made. And it helped me realize like I can do this, and has opened up the possibility to move other places and explore the rest of the United States.
Thanks, Kalee. That's so cool. We always like to say that the AmeriCorps members in West Virginia are about 50-50. So half of our AmeriCorps members, roughly, are from West Virginia and they serve in their hometowns. And the other half are like Kalee and they move to the state for a year of service and start this really great big adventure in West Virginia. So it's really cool to highlight how many young people and people of all ages that AmeriCorps are bringing to the state. And it's kind of an unexpected benefit of the program. And then just to learn a little bit more about Kalee, she's an artist and she's a self-proclaimed bird nerd. So can you share with the group a little bit how you've combined those two passions to use them at your AmeriCorps service and what you do there?
Yeah, like in my photo that you saw, that sign that I was holding, I drew that and designed that. I went to school to be an environmental interpreter, especially with the goal of using my art to get people interested in different conservation topics, especially animals. And the candy darter is an endemic species to West Virginia that's unfortunately endangered due to mining and invasive species. And so when I got here, my supervisor presented me with that opportunity and I told him like, yeah, I draw it. And he's like, oh, that's amazing. Would you want to do a project like this? So I've been using my art to try to get people interested in the topics. Because if you were out in the woods and you see a beautiful painting, pretty much, you're going to stop and look because that's not what you normally see out in the woods. And even though I do Watershed, my supervisor's been really great because he knows I like birds so much that he's let me be flexible, and I've found ways to talk about birds needing streams. It's like we don't really think about that as streams as a resource. That we think of fish usually when we think of streams, but everybody needs water. And so I've created curriculum on not just fish, but also about like birds and how they need streams, and getting people to think more complexly about these habitats. And that's been fun. And me getting to slip in that flexing on people that I know about birds.
I love how you brought your interest in birds into the watershed field. What else do you do with watersheds for those of us who aren't familiar with that type of service?
Yeah, a huge part of what my position specifically does is we have a snorkeling program. And what we do is either go to like camps or schools. Unfortunately, we can't do schools this year, but we have been able to partner up with camps and other programs to get kids into their streams and learning about what does a public land mean, how and what does that look like as we think of forests, but we own the streams as well. Those are public lands, and getting kids to create that connection with streams and what's in the water with them. So macroinvertebrates, which are aquatic insects, the different types of fish, amphibians. So me taking that outreach and trying to connect kids to their natural spaces, and hopefully building stewardship in that point, or from those connections, and that maybe they'll also want to do something like this, or maybe now they'll think more differently about water, because I've never thought to snorkel in fresh water. I always heard the ocean. So when my supervisor's like, yeah, we do that here, that was the first time I'd ever considered I could do that. And you surprisingly, I mean, not surprisingly, but you do see a lot, and it's been a cool experience for me. I don't know what the kids take away from it, but at least I think it's cool, and I've learned.
That is so cool. You would never think that you would move to West Virginia to teach snorkeling to children.
No.
Like that probably blows people's minds when you tell them that's what you're up to.
Yeah. People always get like snorkeling programs. I'm like, yeah, are you interested? I'm looking for people who I can go and talk to and do this with. But
That is so cool.
kids seem to like it.
Yeah, that would definitely be memorable. You always remember that when you're a kid, different field trips like that, for sure.
And hopefully like they find new ways to recreate on their public lands as well. Because again, I never thought about that. And maybe when I go back home to Oregon, I'll think about snorkeling because we got some pretty cool rivers too. So try that out too and bring that back home with me. It's an experience.
Yeah, that would be cool to take a piece of your service with you to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to share a little bit about how AmeriCorps has impacted your career and what your plans are after your service?
Yeah. So again, like I said, my background, I have a very interestingly titled degree. It's recreation resource management. And that's more with an, I guess, a minor and option in education. And I really want to be someday a park ranger. So either that's with the state park system, the national park system, or finding outreach opportunities like the Forest Service has provided me for stream outreach. But doing like being here, this was the first position I had where they recognized I did art and were willing to use that to create outreach materials. I've created not just only the candy darter signs, I've helped design pollinator signs. I'm working on in the middle of a project designing a boat launch out in Anthony Creek, which is in the Greenbrier County. And so I'm building, and also just recently too, I got to help draw some forest succession photos. So what forests look like as they grow and what the forest plans to do for restoration. So helping communicate conservation through art. So now I have this huge portfolio of all this interpretive material that I've created. And now I hope that like I can show that to the state park system or national park system or whatever interpretive program I end up with. And they'll see like I have concrete physical items that exist like on a national forest. That's crazy that my art, when I either go back to Oregon or wherever I go next, there will always be a part of me on the Mon that I can point back to and be like, I did that. And hopefully that will help me get more career opportunities. And also I've been able, because my supervisor is so flexible and because AmeriCorps, I get to help out my other fellow AmeriCorps. I've gotten to do a lot of things I never would have thought I would have done. And it's really helped me decide what do I want from a career. So I've learned a lot of what I don't like and what I do like, and building up that resume and building up a comfort zone and knowing what my limits are. And so now I feel more confidently when I go on to the job searching, like on jobs.gov, that I kind of know more of what they're asking of me. And I don't think I would have gotten that if I had, if I've gotten like a seasonal or a part-time position. AmeriCorps is a very like safe net. I think that it's not a big risk. It's like, I knew if I moved out to West Virginia and I didn't like it, I was only going to be here for a year, and I had like, it was safe. Like it felt safe and secure versus if I was getting a part-time job where it's like, or a permanent job, like you're moving to West Virginia and that's it. Like you don't know what you like. So it felt like I could take these risks. Like AmeriCorps allowed me to take these risks and not feel as constricted. And that also as a member, I'm not an employee, so I have more rights to like say no. So it's been practicing putting up boundaries and also learning what I like. And my supervisor is very flexible. Like if I tell him like I'm not comfortable doing that, he's listened. So like again, it's a safe learning environment. And I really appreciate that because now I feel like I know what I want to do with my life, and been given a safe opportunity to practice communication and setting boundaries in the workplace of, no, I don't want to do that, or I'm willing to try, but no, I might not feel safe or not want to do it later. Like I did chainsaw training. I don't ever want to do it again, but I'm so thankful that the Forest Service provided that option and that I have a supervisor that's like, not going to make me, because I have that certification, be like, no, you have to use it now. He recognizes that, but I was lucky to be given that opportunity still.
I love that. That's such a good point, that AmeriCorps is a great opportunity to try new things. And like Kalee said, it's only a year. So you get to learn what you love and what you don't love. And that's a really valuable aspect. And I'm proud of you for making so much of your AmeriCorps service and then integrating what you already love into it.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
That's a great part of AmeriCorps too, I think, is finding your passions or building up on them, or finding like, I don't like this at all, and you're not stuck in that career path now because you're just an AmeriCorps member. It's not your career yet. It's great.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So before we move on to our next panelist, I want to ask you one more question, Kalee. And since you moved to West Virginia from Oregon, what is one thing that you really love about West Virginia? What's something that stuck out to you about the state?
I think just how much natural space there is, because like Oregon's a much more developed state than West Virginia. Like it takes me like an hour or 2 hours to get to another city, but in between that, it's just beautiful forests and landscapes. And it kind of reminds me of Oregon in that capacity, but it's just different. All the conifers, deciduous trees, which Oregon is mostly pine trees. So like experiencing seasons differently has been really great. And then bringing it back to birding, there's a lot of East Coast exclusives, as I call them, bird species that I would have never got to experience if I hadn't moved out here. And yeah, just being in different habitat types, it's amazing. And I think that has been hugely why I love this state, is the natural spaces are amazing.
Oh, well, thank you, Kalee. Thank you for bringing so much beauty to West Virginia through your art. And thank you for appreciating the beauty that's here already. And we're really grateful for your service in Marlington. And thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So now we're going to move on to our next panelist, Josh Wanstreet. Josh is a second-year AmeriCorps member. He started as a VISTA with YouthBuild, and he serves in Elkins, West Virginia. You might recognize Josh. He's a musician. He played during our AmeriCorps swearing-in ceremony this year. He opened for Kathy Matea, which is pretty impressive. And Josh is an Air Force veteran. So thank you so much for joining us, Josh. If you want to unmute yourself, and we're going to learn a little bit about your service and what you do as a Appalachia healthcare worker in Elkins. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you do there?
Sure. I started there in October of 2019, and what we do is I work with 2 nurses, and the program consists mostly of low-income seniors, and a lot of them have chronic health issues. So one of our goals is to kind of do like wellness checks and help them with getting to appointments if they have them. If they need some medical supplies, sometimes we're able to, help them out with that, depending on what it is. Just we do health action plans with them. So they create goals that they want to work towards. Say it's maybe lose some weight or quit smoking, things like that, or eat healthier. We'll work with them on that. And other things we've done, the pandemic really changed what I was able to do. We had weekly exercise activities at one of the sites. I was starting to organize monthly concerts, little performances in the community room at one of the sites. And we did one, which went over really well. And I was excited to, keep doing that. And then the last one was supposed to be roughly about a year ago, right before the lockdown happened. So, that was something I was looking forward to. I did start back up in the summer a weekly walking program at one of the sites, and we socially distance and wear our mask. If it's something outside and the weather's nice, then I'm able to do that still, and hopefully things will go back to normal more this year and get back to doing some of the activities that I originally had planned to do. So yeah, under the COVID-19, some of the other activities that we started to do was if somebody didn't have transportation or means to get to the grocery store, We helped them out with grocery deliveries, and I teamed up with a organization in town here called Youth Health Services, and they helped me out with some deliveries there. And then we were kind of started late in the season, but we teamed up with the West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition, and we had local farmers in Randolph County and also Pocahontas County, and they donated produce, weekly produce that went out to, eventually was about 52 mostly seniors getting that once a week. And we had some folks up in Tucker County receiving that, and then also in Randolph County. And again, I worked with Youth Health Services there to do deliveries, and I even personally delivered to some of the folks. That was a great experience. I've done really a lot of different things, but that's just to name a few.
That's awesome. Yeah, AmeriCorps members are some of the most creative people you will meet. So I'm sure we'll hear today a lot how people have adapted their service during COVID. And I think it's really cool how you've brought all those programs to Elkins, like for example, the walking program. So I'm sure you have a lot of really positive memories from your AmeriCorps service. Do you have a particular story that stands out to you that's really touched your heart?
Yeah, it's really hard to narrow it down to one, because I'm lucky to really get to do a lot of good work that, you know, people are sincerely grateful for. You know, they thank me. I think one of the stories, going back to the food deliveries, you know, there were some of the ladies, when I would deliver the food, they would get misty-eyed and thank me, and kind of got me a little misty-eyed too. And knowing that I genuinely was helping these people, it's one of the most gratifying things I've done in my adult life. You know, serving. You know, I've served in the Air Force. I've worked for the Park Service. So just knowing that you're really helping people. And I think one particular story that stands out was right before Thanksgiving, we were working with World Vision. After the produce season ended around October, we teamed up with World Vision out of Barber County, and they donated weekly food boxes. And so for right before Thanksgiving, they had boxes specifically set up with, you know, things that people tend to eat for Thanksgiving. We even gave them some ham and, you know, just regular Thanksgiving fixings like green beans and stuff. So I delivered to one of the ladies, and I saw her at the next food delivery, and she said, "I really thank you for that." She said, "If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have had Thanksgiving food." And that really touched me for sure. That was one that really stood out, because I assumed that most of the people, we were just kind of, you know, probably augmenting whatever they were going to have themselves. But for her to tell me that she wouldn't have otherwise, you know, been able to serve a Thanksgiving meal for her and, you know, a couple of her family members, really meant a lot to me.
Wow, that really touched my heart. And we had a really nice comment in the chat box, Josh, while you're talking. It was from Chance, and he said, thanks to groups like you, that his grandparents were able to stay home and safe. So I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way because of your service. You helped so many people stay safe and feel loved during the pandemic. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is I started issuing a newsletter for the Randolph County Housing Authority, which is the office that I work out of. And it was all because of COVID-19, like I said, adapting. And the purpose was to send it out to tenants, just to let them know of updates with what's going on with the pandemic, different resources, you know, where could they get tested, or how could they get groceries delivered if they needed, where could they get some help with food, you know, like Catholic Charities in town can help people. Contact us if they needed some public transit tickets, you know, for appointments or going to the grocery store even. Just different resources, helplines if they're, you know, suffering some mental health issues and were depressed. You know, I published a link to like 211 is one, and the DHHR has an ongoing website that keeps people updated with what's going on with the COVID-19. So that was another thing that, I was able to help people stay informed and people contact me. We also started a program where we were helping low-income individuals get digital devices so that they could stay connected to family and friends or health or, just all these different things that some people, if they don't have a device or internet, don't have access to. So that was another program that I worked on. So yeah, all these different good things that we just couldn't have foreseen because of the COVID-19, but we were able to do as a result and still continue to help people.
You had another nice comment in the chat. It's from Olivia. She said her dad lives in Barber County and has greatly benefited from the food assistance program. So she wanted to thank you for that as well. It's a small world.
Yeah, I tell people in West Virginia, the degree of separation is not 6. It's usually like 1 or 2.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we've all learned that. It's funny how small it is here. So for our last question together, you mentioned that you were an Air Force veteran, you served in the Park Service, and you're an AmeriCorps member now. Why do you feel that public service is so important, and how can it make the world be a better place?
I think public service is good because it's not centered around generating profit for a corporation. Just personally, I just get more satisfaction not knowing that I'm helping somebody rather than, just boosting the stock prices for a company. That's what I like about public service. It's not about money. It's not about trying to get rich. It's just comes down to helping people in different ways.
That's a great way to put it. Well, thanks. Thank you so much, Josh, for sharing your energy into helping others and sharing all you're passionate about and everything that you've done during the pandemic, and just for being such a wonderful person. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for asking me to be on the panel.
Yeah. Bye, Josh. All right. So we've had some great conversations so far. We have 2 more panelists. I'm really happy to introduce Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn grew up in Indiana and she went to school for geology, and then she moved to West Virginia to start her AmeriCorps service. And she's had some really unexpected experiences and surprises through our service. And right now she is serving in Elkins, just like Josh, small world, with the Division of Forestry. So Kaitlyn, if you want to go ahead and unmute your line, I see you're ready to roll. As an AmeriCorps member, one of your biggest projects was helping to build a new trail at Cooper's Rock in Morgantown. So can you share a little bit about this? You got some props from Maya up there, sorry. Can you share a little bit about this project and how you helped?
Yeah, so this project is considered my major project, and I didn't even know anything about Cooper's Rock until I talked to my second supervisor. He works with the lands crew with the Division of Forestry. And he's like, well, we have space up here at Cooper's Rock. And I know that my buddy Jan, who is like the wildlife guy up there, has been wanting to put a trail next to the Raven Rock trail. So on the left side of the Raven Rock Trail, we're going to put in a half-mile trail that has activities and information about the area and some things that I started. This trail started new, so I had to go up there and flag out a trail that I thought would have some interesting stops on it, have some activities on it. And then I went home and created a 15-20 page research on what's in the area, what animals are there, what plants are there, what's happened in the past. There's actually a dump site that it used to be a road there where my trail's gonna be. And that dump site has a lot of old like Coke bottles and these glass jars and everything. And we walked across that when we were first there and we're like, what is this? Why is this here? So I did some research and found that, and that was really interesting to me because I didn't know that would even exist now that it's a forested area instead of an old road that people used to travel on. So some of the activities that we're planning for this trail is like a tree ID. It looked like maybe West Virginia University has some trees marked already. So we're just going to use those and be like, all right, so what do you think this tree is? And there'll be a plant and animal scavenger hunt, tree cookies so that kids can learn about dendrology and how that works. And also just some information about the emerald ash borer, the endangered three-toothed snail, or the cheat three-toothed snail. So yeah, there's a lot going on with that, and we're hoping that the information that I put in my signs will help people understand the area and some of the things that the Division of Forestry does there, like doing some cutting or burn sites, controlled burns, because that creates new life. There's actually a new forest of poplar coming up in that trail, and we're going to highlight that as well. So.
I bet you never thought that you would move to West Virginia from Indiana and then you'd get to make your own trail in a forest, right?
Nope, never expected that at all. I was like, okay, sure, I will do my best with this.
That's such a cool perk of AmeriCorps. If you're considering joining, I mean, you do it for a year, and like what Kaitlyn's saying, you're put in all these interesting situations and doing things that you'd never conceive, like building a trail or making signs and a nature preserve. So it's really neat, and it opens a lot of doors. And that's kind of the next question that I want to ask you about, Kaitlyn. So AmeriCorps usually uncovers unexpected benefits and surprises. And recently you just had a huge surprise come your way through AmeriCorps in your service. Can you tell us a little bit about this happy news that you have to share?
Yeah, so my position, even though we can't meet in person, I meet with a lot of organizations like Project Wet Facilitators, the Envirothon Committee, which I got to be a part of, DEP, I work with the State Commerce, and WVU. So I work with a lot of people in my position, and in the middle of a meeting that I had for Project Wet Facilitators, we were planning to make a facilitator training, hopefully in person in June, and add in Project Learning Tree as well. And right in the middle of this meeting, I get an email from one of the people in the meeting that I've had meetings with in the past. And I was like, okay, well, he must be emailing me for something else. But I checked the email, even though I was in the middle of the meeting, and it was like, are you interested in doing a master's program? And I'm like, I've thought about it. And I'm like, told him some things that I've thought about doing for a master's program. He's like, well, what if you came and do a forestry degree with a focus of economic and resource management? And I was like, well, sure. And he's like, to add on top of that, we would like to give you an assistantship, a research assistantship, where we will pay for your college to get my master's degree in forestry. And it would give me an $18,000 stipend and health insurance. So it's something that I definitely couldn't pass up, and I'm excited to start working with them, and they're already excited and talking to me about it as well. And we're going to be researching shiitake mushrooms. So that will be interesting, going from geology to shiitake mushrooms, but we'll see.
Yeah, I said to Kaitlyn, I hope you like mushrooms. And just to clarify that, so the master's program like fell in your lap, and it's going to be a free program like what you said, and that all happened through your connections through AmeriCorps, right?
Right. Yep.
That is so cool. Congratulations. You got lots of claps in the gallery view when you announced that, and we're so proud of you.
Thank you.
So do you plan on staying in West Virginia after the master's programs, or what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, I've actually talked to a lot of the foresters that I work with, because we were all planning on me just staying another year as an AmeriCorps with my supervisor. And when I told them this, they're like, "You're leaving? Oh my God, no." And I'm like, "Well, what if I come back? Would that be okay?" And they're like, "Definitely yes." So I'm definitely going to apply and see if I can get back into the West Virginia Division of Forestry and see where that leads. But if not, then we'll see where I'll go after the master's. But hopefully I can come back and actually be a West Virginian and enjoy West Virginia life. So
That's awesome. Well, I'm so happy you found your master's program and that you found a whole new chapter in West Virginia by moving here to be an AmeriCorps member. So we're super happy for you, Kaitlyn, and congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you.
Thank you. So awesome news for Kaitlyn. And then we're going to close out our interviews with Maya. She is an AmeriCorps VISTA with Friends of Decker Creek in Morgantown, and she's working on some really cool projects there. And just a little bit of background about Maya. She is a world traveler. So before she became an AmeriCorps member, she was in Africa. She was a conservation intern in Botswana and assisted an ecotourism lodge in Zambia. So Maya, why do you enjoy traveling, and how did it feel to come back to West Virginia after being in Africa?
Well, I think I enjoy traveling probably because my mom was a travel nurse growing up. So I always had people writing me postcards from all over the world. And so I've always had kind of a balance between my love for my home state and having some itchy feet to go want to experience different environments of the world. And yeah, so it was kind of nice to return to West Virginia after being abroad and you know, getting to see everything with fresh eyes again, and getting to, you know, relearn different species. I'm a nature geek, so it was really nice. I think traveling gives a really important perspective of gaining perspective. I personally am in the thought of, I genuinely think everyone should travel to an environment outside of one they grew up in, whether that be internationally, nationally, to a different cultural, you know, space than they're used to, or a different economic tier than they're used to, because I think it really helps you realize that, you know, we're all unique individuals, but I think we have a learned thought process that we do have a lot of differences, and when you really get down to it, you know, we all have similar ideals of wanting to be happy and healthy in life. And so I think that it, you know, really kind of helps you go back to your home and like see things with fresh eyes. And so that's really always been really important to me. So so yeah, I love seeing the different environments of the world and getting to learn about different species and different cultures, and bring that back here, and kind of makes it exciting again to learn about the culture of home too.
Yeah, I love it when people are from West Virginia and you leave and then you come back, because you bring a whole new perspective, and you can just share it with everyone that you meet. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
So in the chat box, Christina asked, if you're curious, Maya is an AmeriCorps VISTA, and the other members we spoke to were AmeriCorps members. And just briefly to talk about the difference, AmeriCorps members do direct service. So they're out in the field educating, teaching environmental programs and snorkeling, like what Josh was saying, meeting with his clients. And AmeriCorps VISTAs are a little bit different. They do indirect service, which is capacity building. So they do more administrative work, if you were curious. So they'll write grants, they organize programs, they help with fundraising. And so we can talk about this a little bit through Maya's service. So as a VISTA at Deckers Creek, she helps organize the environmental education program, the water quality testing program, and she helps with fundraisers. So Maya, can you talk a little bit about your service, and if you have a favorite story from when you're an AmeriCorps VISTA?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of all encompassing. We're a really small organization. So, you know, we all pick up the pieces and just do whatever, you know, needs to be done that day. And I'm really fortunate to have a fantastic group to work with. I just appreciate them and their work environment so much. And they've been really great about being flexible also with working from home, because I have some family that's immunocompromised. But so I always like to say there's, you know, BC and AC, before COVID and after COVID. So before COVID, it was a lot of environmental education. We got to go to after school programs and teach, you know, through crafts about the environment, which was really fun. We have we have a little garden that is centered mostly in town, that we call our outdoor learning park, and it kind of is like a hub to kind of get people with some kiosks interested about the environment. And it has a little presentation area with a blackboard, and so we garden there during the summer as well. We do water quality testing because our watershed is afflicted quite dramatically with acid mine drainage pollution, as well as we do some E. coli sampling because of our stormwater and sewage infrastructure. So we do some sampling with that, and we put it, the findings online for the E. coli samples, so people know whether or not it's safe to recreate in that area that month. So then after, you know, after COVID, we usually do a lot of fundraising through meltdowns and in-kind donations, where normally we would get together with all of our stakeholders and community members and, you know, have a big event. And but it looked a little different this year. We did try to switch it to a virtual online version and sell a few items. And then we also have a water club group at our local high school, which is just a fantastic group of kids. And they're so passionate about the environment, and I'm just so excited to see what impact they make in the future. And so we were going to have a huge restoration event around Earth Day last summer, but with COVID hitting, it looked a little different. We were able, with the guidelines that were out at the time, we could have about 20 people. So we had their family members, and then they're masked up, and we put biologs in, which are erosion control. They help with erosion control in the river, and these kids were able to give a presentation. One of the kids even zoomed in to give part of the presentation, which was nice, and made some kiosks. So it was really nice to see, you know, them get excited, and after all the work they've done, have, you know, be able to present, you know, about some of the stuff they've learned. They created some action items about how communities can, you know, help their environment, and different things that they can do, whether it, you know, be cleanups or leave no trace, or, you know, being knowledgeable about your environmental law and your environmental rights, and, you know, to speak out, which was actually fully their idea. We're, you know, very not political group, but, you know, if they wanted, we were like, go with it, run with it. So it's just been really nice. I remember we do a build a watershed activity with kids, and it's this craft, and we kind of try to teach them, you know, okay, well, where does water go? Why does pollution here affect pollution, you know, more nationally, and how does it get to streams farther down? And one little girl raised her hand and was like, I read about algal blooms from all the pollution accumulating. And I was like, oh my gosh, do you want to come work for us? She was so fantastic. It was so great. And then we have some community members that come at the garden all the time, and just, they'll pick up stuff, you know, they'll see us working, and they'll start picking up trash and start chatting with us. We have one elderly woman, her name's Doris, and she has some, a little bit dementia, but she's so cute every time she introduces herself. And every time, you know, we're like, yeah, it's good to see you again. and you know, so it's really nice to connect. It's been a little hard with COVID, not, you know, getting that connection, but we've been able to have a few safe things here and there. So it's definitely about adaptability and, you know, having a good, I'm really fortunate to have good coworkers, and like being able to breathe through, you know, workshopping ideas and trying to figure out how to implement, you know, virtual things. So,
Yeah.
which actually we're going to have a virtual kids craft series on May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And Kaitlyn might be helping Linda from Project Learning Tree with that. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a small world. It's cool to hear about how you all have adapted your projects during COVID. It's pretty cool, and is a testament of how adaptable and perseverant AmeriCorps members are. So we have time for one more question, Maya, and I'm dying to ask you. You've been all over the place. You've traveled the country and the world, and I'd love to hear why does West Virginia stand out to you, and what makes the state so special?
I think I remember, I'll never forget one of the first times I went out the state when I was little, and I was going to, my mom had a conference in Yellowstone. And I remember, I think my dad was a little worried about, you know, me getting lustful of the big mountains out there. And he leans down to me and he says, remember, they have the new big mountains, but we have the wise old mountains. And I don't know why, but that's just always stuck with me. And so I appreciate the environments from all over the world, but I think West Virginia has this ingrained instinct of survival, and just, you know, there's just something about, especially springtime with all the greenery in the forest, that I really appreciate. And I hope, you know, I hope that the future starts leading West Virginia towards, you know, green, clean jobs. So I'm so fortunate that this position was available, because sometimes it is hard to find, you know, jobs in my career path that are paying in the state, that aren't just volunteers. So I'm really excited. I was really very fortunate to learn about this position, and so happy that I hope the state starts to progress towards that way for longevity of economics and community health and environmental health.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that AmeriCorps brought you back. Well, you came back for other reasons, but I'm so grateful you were able to stay in the state because of AmeriCorps. And to all of our panelists, all these panelists are from our AmeriCorps advisory team, and they just randomly volunteered. So it was kind of neat to see the group come together, and that you all were focused on environmentalism and health, and all of us are fairly young. So it's really wonderful that AmeriCorps brings so much young talent to the state, and then it helps people like Maya create the West Virginia that we want to live in. And I think that's super wonderful. And we can't thank you all enough for your service. And we hope all these conversations inspired you. I've seen some really great messages from Chance in the chat box. So if you haven't gotten a chance, Maya, maybe check that out. And thank you so much. And to each of the panelists, AmeriCorps builds the leaders of the future. So I feel confident that our 4 panelists, no matter where they end up, will be leaders, and just help create a brighter, more healthy, and environmentally conscious future for all of us. So thank you very, very much. And we just have about 2 or 3 more minutes there. If anyone wants to answer any questions or have any final thoughts for our panelists, we'd love to hear it. So if anyone has a question or a thought for our panelists, if not, that's a great question. So Chance had a question if there's any geology programs near Webster County. If any of the panelists know, you might know better than me. Maybe pop into the message box and see if you can help Chance there. And it sounds like you all had a really great time today. I'm just scrolling through the chat. Christina, if you want to go to the final slide and wrap us up, we have a few final thoughts before we move on today.
Yes, I was typing a chat back to you, Chance. If you want to put your email in the chat box, I can check and get back to you. There's actually a really wonderful, constantly updated AmeriCorps portal where all of the AmeriCorps positions across West Virginia and across the whole country are posted. And so I can get you the link to that and kind of show you how the search features work. And we can see if there's one near you in Webster County. Before we log off today, I want to be sure we give you all the opportunity to give your feedback on this session. So I'm going to put that link in the chat box right now. Please just take a couple moments to let us know what you might want to see in the future and what you liked and didn't like about our session. It will help us a lot. And don't forget to register for our upcoming Volunteer West Virginia Wednesdays. We really have enjoyed getting to know people through Zoom and seeing friends new and old. So we hope to see you in April, May, and the months to come.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina. And thanks again to our panelists today. We had Kalee, Josh, Kaitlyn, and Maya. We're super grateful for your service. Happy AmeriCorps Week and have a good weekend, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.